What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the boundlessly boisterous Dr. Disaster. And something that I think most of us despise is the way that some modern video game studios have tried to take credit for the work that other people have done.
That's rude.
A prime example of what I'm talking about is when the current iteration of Bungie was talking up their game Marathon earlier this year, and they were obsessed with letting everybody know that this was the studio which had at one time made the first Halo games and Destiny 1 and 2. They paraded the fact that those games were made with the Bungie name attached to it in the trailers for that game, and a lot of people called it out as basically stolen valor, because of course the people who made those games have largely left that studio. These modern studios need to understand that they are not their predecessors. They need a wake-up call.
Cock-a-doodle-doo!
And one studio who clearly needs to wake their asses up in this regard is Rocksteady Studios. I mean, for Pete's sake, look at their profile on X with the LGBT pride crap in their logo, looking ugly as sin, and look at the description on their profile. They've got the maximum progressive pandering there with their hashtags, as if the year is still 2020, and as if the culture hasn't swung massively against this played out nonsense.
Are you retarded?
Suffice to say, Rocksteady is no longer the same studio that it once was. Back when they were making the Batman Arkham games, these were serious developers who made badass games, but the developers of consequence have left the studio, and now Rocksteady is known for working with Sweet Baby Inc. and making Suicide Squad kill the Justice League. But that hasn't stopped them from posting this here, where they are claiming credit for Arkham Knight, which just hit its 10-year anniversary, and naturally, gamers didn't care for this at all.
That's for blasphemy.
Alright me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and I have begun uploading content onto Rumble as well, so make sure that you follow Dr. Disaster on that site too. But anyhow, let's talk about what these goofballs are up to at Rocksteady. First of all, I'd like to point out that the most annoying part about this tweet is the use of the word "we" in it. 10 years ago today, we released Batman Arkham Knight. If they wanted to avoid the criticism that they've gotten for this post, they should have said something like, 10 years ago today, Rocksteady is proud to have released Batman Arkham Knight. Something like that might have done the trick. But instead, they made it sound like this iteration of Rocksteady is precisely the same one that we knew and loved a decade ago. However, the real creative force behind Batman Arkham Knight walked out the door damn near 3 years ago. The co-founders of Rocksteady left in late 2022 in order to found another studio with a bunch of hand-picked developers, leaving Rocksteady as a husk of its former self. It's like a freaking zombie at this point. Ultimately, it is dead, but it still shambles around, devouring whatever it can get its hands on, most notably the strong reputation that they once had. Suicide Squad absolutely crushed that reputation into pieces. It was live service slop that was contrapunctual to the story-driven games that had taken place in the Arkhamverse prior to this turd of a game. The game failed miserably, and as player count dwindled, they put out DLC like this here, thinking that a female Dr. Freeze, covered with pride flag stuff was going to bring in the players, this is a studio that is as clueless as they come. Of all the responses that I saw, though, to Rocksteady's ridiculous post on X, this one here was definitely my favorite. The guy wrote, "And after 10 years, you haven't been able to recapitalize on your previous successes. I wonder why." And then, down below his words, you can see he includes an image of the Rocksteady logo tainted with the pride flag stuff. And I think this is precisely the sort of problem that Rocksteady has these days. And I'm not just talking about the pride logo, that is annoying, but it is emblematic of a bigger picture issue. This is now just a soulless corporation that is incapable of independent thought. This is a fully corporatized company without the presence of the original driving forces of the studio, their co-creators. Rocksteady is now made up of folks who believe that corporate virtue signaling is a solid move. These are people who are no longer able to connect with gamers, and as a result of the problems that went on with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, because obviously there were big problems. Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, the guys who started up Rocksteady, they both left about a year and a half before the release of that game. It's evident that they had creative disagreements with whoever was pushing Kill the Justice League, and it turns out that they knew what they were talking about, because as we all know, Suicide Squad ended up losing Warner Brothers somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 million. And as a result of the shitty decision making that led to this game, along with other general mismanagement at Warner, a quarter of the studios under the Warner umbrella have shuttered. There are rumors that we discussed the other day that with the dire situation that Warner is in these days, Sony is actually thinking about sliding in and buying up the Warner gaming division. But at the end of the day, this will not save Rocksteady. At this point, it's fairly safe to say that not much will. There's been talk that at the studio, they are putting all their eggs into the Batman Arkham basket. It sounds as if the studio is planning on putting together a new game in that series, which is proof right there that this is no longer the same studio that it once was. The thing is, Batman Arkham Knight wrapped up the Arkhamverse really nicely. The story was told and it was complete, and that's why we haven't seen another meaningful Arkham game in the past 10 years, the VR game Arkham Shadow notwithstanding. But think about this. The original game, Arkham Asylum, came out in 2009. That means that in the short span of 6 years, Rocksteady released all 4 of the mainline Arkham games. This is a studio that was capable, if they had wanted to keep going, of releasing 5 or 6 more of those games in the time period since. And these things were money printing machines, keep in mind. So the question is, why didn't they make more of them? And the answer is almost assuredly because the guys who ran the company knew that the story was over. They had at least some fidelity to the story that they had told. The fact that Rocksteady is now attempting to revive the franchise is a sign that they are desperate for the credibility that they no longer have, and it's a further sign that they fundamentally misunderstand the Arkham games. Their best bet is to release a remaster or remake of the original Arkham Asylum. We'll have to wait and see what they're up to though, but obviously it's something, because they were one of the studios that was not shut down even after losing Warner $200 million. But I'm going to leave it there. Drop your mockery of modern Rocksteady into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.